Napoleon in the evening in his bedroom along with Marshal Bertrand. The parcel of letters which I had brought from the governor was before him. He had just been informed of his reply to the application that Count Lescazes might be allowed to visit Longwood before his departure. He observed that criminals condemned to death and on the point of being led out to execution were allowed to bid adieu to their friends without it being required that a third person should be present. He was very much displeased and expressed in strong terms his indignation at such barbarous conduct. He then asked me for the governor's reply to the proposal I had made, which I gave him in French and English, having made a translation of it into the former, and also repeated to him what the governor had expressed to me relative to Lescazes. When he came to the words, when his duty would allow him, misunderstanding, tracasserie, a trick, said he. This is the language he has always held. It is an insult to human understanding. His intentions could not be mistaken. They were to heap all sorts of useless vexations upon me. I cannot, continued he, think that he will allow the admiral to act as intermediator. Depend upon it, it is some shuffling trick of his, and that he will never allow it to come to a conclusion. He dictated a few lines to Count Bertrand containing a protest against the governor's conduct, which he desired him to write out fair in the next room. He desired me to communicate to the governor the remarks which he had made upon his conduct, and observed that he hoped the admiral would not commence any proceedings without having first made himself perfectly master of the subject, in order not to allow himself to be shooed by the governor. We would probably fill him with those falsehoods which he always had at command. I should be sorry that the admiral, continued he, should undertake anything likely to prove abortive, as I have an esteem for him. Sir Hudson Reed all day in consultation at Plantation House. The 29th, a letter from Sir Hudson Lowe for Count Bertrand arrived at 8 o'clock in the morning. Saw Napoleon at 2 p.m. Informed me that as the governor had 14 or 15 days, expressed a wish to know what the French complained of, he had directed Bertrand to send him a copy of his restrictions and some observations thereupon, in order that he might think and reflect upon them. Also that he had caused the following remarks to be written upon the back of a memorandum containing the governor's sentiments, which I had delivered to him yesterday, and which he directed me to forward to Sir Hudson Lowe. 1. On ne peut justifier la conduite continue depuis 6 mois par quelques phrases de la correspondance du ministre, une longue et volumineuse correspondance ministérielle, est un arsenal où il a des armes et tout tranchant de le dernier règlement sérieux considérés à bas niveau comme injurieux et oppressifs. Ils doivent être, quoique l'on en dise contraire à la volonté du gouvernement anglais, qui a approuvé les règlements qui ont été en vigueur jusqu'au mois d'août dernier. 3. Toutes les observations que le comte Bertrand et le comte de Montauban ont fait ont été inutiles. Un livre d'exclusion leur a été interdit par des menaces. Napoleon complaining. This governor, said he, is a man totally unfit to fill the situation he holds. He has a good deal of cunning, but no talent or steadiness. C'est un homme soupçonneux, astuce, menteur, double et plein d'insinuation. He's suspicious, an artful man, a liar, deceitful, and full of insinuations, like the Italians of 2 or 3 centuries ago. C'est un excellent familier de l'Inquisition. il mettrait de l'astuce à dire le bonjour. Je crois qu'il en met à manger son déjeuner. He would be an excellent familiar of the Inquisition. He would use dissimulation, evidence saying good morning. I believe that he uses it in eating his breakfast. He ought to be sent to Goa. Bertrand wrote that he hoped he would not refuse his consent to a matter of so little consequence as that of permitting Las Casas to come up here. If he refuses, Bertrand will go down to see him along with an officer, which I could not consent to do. What can he be afraid of, continued he, that I would tell him to write to my wife? He will do that without my direction, that I would tell him my sentiments and intentions. He knows them already. Does he think that Europe is a mine of gunpowder and that Las Casas is the spark to blow it up? A letter subscribed in haste from Sir Hudson Lowe was given to Captain Poppleton, containing one for Count Bertrand, signifying that in consequence of the manner in which Count Las Casas had been removed from Longwood, the governor could not permit him to take leave of General Bonaparte. Shortly afterwards, Count Bertrand and Baron Gourgaud went to town, accompanied by Captain Poppleton, to see and take leave of Count Las Casas. It is difficult to reconcile the conduct pursued towards them there with the other measures practiced by Sir Hudson Lowe, and with the importance which he professed to attach to cutting off all communication with Longwood. At breakfast, they were left to themselves, with the exception of Captain Poppleton, who understands French with difficulty, and not at all when spoken in the quick manner in which Frenchmen usually converse with each other. For some hours they remained together in the large room of the castle, which is about 50 feet by 20, walking up one side, while Colonel Wynyard and Major Gourgaud, who were to watch them, remain on the opposite side of the room, so that in fact Las Casas might just as well have been permitted to come to Longwood, and thereby a refusal which was considered as an insult would have been spared to Napoleon. About 3 p.m., Las Casas and his son embarked on board of the Griffin sloop of war, Captain Wright, for the Cape of Good Hope. He was accompanied to the seaside by Sir Hudson Lowe, Sir Thomas Reed, etc. His journal and papers, except a few of no consequence, were detained by the governor. Previous to his departure, he made over £4,000, which he had in a banker's hands in London for Napoleon's use. I saw Sir Hudson Lowe on horseback in the street, who called out to me when passing, "Your negotiation has failed." About £500 worth of plate brought down by Cipriani in the morning to be sold. When Sir Hudson Lowe saw it, he sent for Cipriani, to whom he demanded in what manner they could spend so much money. Cipriani, an arch, intelligent Corsican, replied, "To buy food." His Excellency affected surprise and said, "What? Have you not enough?" "We have purchased," said Cipriani, "so many fowls, so much better, bread, meat, and divers other articles of food daily for some months, and I have to thank your chef d'etat-major, Colonel Reed, for his goodness in not only procuring me many things that I wanted, but for his kindness in seeing that the people did not impose upon me when I was paying for them." Sir Hudson was a little disconcerted at this reply at first, but afterwards, resuming an appearance of astonishment, asked, "Why do you buy so much butter, so many fowls?" "Because," replied Cipriani, "the allowance granted by Vostra Excellenza, your Excellency, does not give us enough to eat. You have taken off nearly half of what the Admiral allowed us." Cipriani then gave him an account in detail of their wants, explained the difference between the French and English mode of living, and accounted satisfactorily for everything. Sir Hudson said that the scheme of allowances had been hastily made out, that he would look into it and endeavor to increase the quantity of those articles or provisions of which they stood most in need, and that on the next arrival from England he expected a change for the better. 31st. Sir Hudson Lowe sent for me at 6 in the morning. Soon after my arrival, he called me into a private room, and in a very solemn manner said that he had sent for me about a very extraordinary circumstance. That last evening, the Baron Sturmer had written a note to Major Gourgaud stating that General Bonaparte had a fainting fit accompanied by fever some time back, and detailing the fact of the eau de cologne having been thrown in his face and some other circumstances, and begged to know if it were true, as such stories were good to send to his court. His Excellency said that he was very much surprised how Baron Sturmer could know that General Bonaparte had experienced a fit, or any of the circumstances attending it, and asked me to whom I had told it. I replied, I mentioned it to none but yourself, your staff, possibly the Admiral and Baxter, whom I consulted professionally upon the matter, and moreover, many of the circumstances detailed in the Baron's letter were falsehoods. Also, that everybody at Logwood knew that Napoleon had had a fainting fit on the night he had mentioned, as well as the circumstances which accompanied it. His Excellency then gave me some advice about the necessity of secrecy, and desired me to write him a statement of the business, in order that, as it had unfortunately got abroad, he might be able to contradict any incorrect account of it, that he supposed the Admiral had repeated it to Monseigneur Sturmer. Saw the Admiral in town, who told me that I had not mentioned the circumstance to him, nor had he done so either to Monseigneur Sturmer, but that half the town knew it, which I was soon convinced of by the number of questions put to me by diverse persons before leaving it. Saw Napoleon on my return. Veramente, said he, laughing, vostro governatore è una bestia che non ha senso comune. Really, your governor is an idiot without common sense. His conduct within a few days has proved his incapacity more than ever. He comes up here with an army of staff, just as if he were going to take a town by assault, seizes Las drags him away, keeps him au secret for some weeks. He then offers to allow him to return back. Las is determined to go away. This governor, in a most brutal manner, refuses to allow him to take leave of me, although at the same time he offers to allow him to return to Longwood until he hears from England. And to crown the business, he permits Bertrand and Gorgo to go to town and converse with him for hours. Bertrand tells me that they had every opportunity for communication that they could desire, and every facility of informing him of my wishes and of giving him letters. I continue, if all in England were like him, I should not be here now. C'est un homme borné. He is a contracted man. Poor subject. He has a little cunning, that is all, without any firmness or consistency. He spoke to Cipriani yesterday, to whom he pretended that he did not know. We had not enough provisions, although his privy councillor, Reed, had assisted Cipriani to buy bread and salt for us for some months, and professed his sorrow that the plate had been broken up. Veramente fa pietà. It is a pity to see a great nation represented by such a man. January 1st, 1817, saw Napoleon in the drawing room, wished him a happy new year. He said he hoped that the succeeding one would find him better situated, and added, laughing, perhaps they shall be dead, which will be much better. Worse than this cannot be. He was in very good spirits, spoke about hunting the stag and the wild boar, showed me the scar of a wound in the inside of the ring finger, which he told me he had received from a wild boar while hunting, accompanied by the Duke of Dalmatia. Count Antoine came in, to whom Napoleon whispered something, after which he went out and returned with a snuff box, which he gave to the Emperor, who presented it to me with his own hand, saying, Here, doctor, is a present I make to you for the attention which you manifested towards me during my illness. It is needless to say that a gift from the hands of such a man was received with sensations of pride, and that I endeavored to express the sentiments which occupied my mind.